Exam season is upon us, and I hope that I'm not too late to share these practical tips with you on how to prepare for your QS exam. Now, I know every university sets its exam papers differently, right? But let me tell you about my very first QS exam. That exam had zero theory, no theory at all. But our lecturer had hinted that when we get to our final exam, all we will be doing is measuring. So when we got to the exam venue, we were given drawings, dimension paper, and the standard system, and we had to measure. It was not the type of exam that you could prepare for by memorizing and regurgitating, right? It was the type of exam that required you to apply what you had learned during the semester or during the course of the year to the paper in front of you. So this here is an example of a final exam paper, and as you can see from question 1 to question 6, all we were doing is taking off quantities. And so in this video, I would like to share some tips that helped me get through my first QS exam, as well as what to keep in mind before and during the exam. For those who do not know me, my name is Onalinna Marumo, and this is the Quantity Surveying Fundamentals. Okay, so tip number 1. Build your construction knowledge. As a quantity surveyor, you may not be the one physically constructing the building, right? But you need to have sound knowledge of construction processes and technology. Let's take the construction of foundations as an example. When you understand how foundations are typically built, it becomes much easier to know the correct sequence for taking off quantities, right? In this way, you don't have to go into an exam having memorized what comes after what. Instead, you have a solid understanding of how the actual process unfolds. So that's why it's imperative for you to have some knowledge of construction processes and technology. You can do that by watching construction related videos on YouTube, and also going through your construction technology books or textbooks rather that are prescribed for your course. When I was in first year, we had this building construction handbook. This is the book that we used. And then we also had this one, they called it Grobla. We also had this book. There's no way you can really get through quantity surveying without understanding the construction processes or technology. Tip number 2, revise your tests, class exercises, and then identify your weak spots. One of the best ways to prepare for your QS exams is to go back to the work you've done during the semester or during the year. These often cover the topics that your lecturer thinks are important, and they are an indicator of what could come in the exam. Don't just reread them, but analyze them, right? Identify topics that you struggled with and spend most of your time revising the difficult concepts, right? And less time on the ones you already feel confident about. By revising past mistakes, you reduce the chances of repeating them in the final exam. Okay, so tip number 3, practice past exam papers. This is non-negotiable. Practice your past papers under strict exam conditions. Don't just skim through the past papers or go through past papers with the hope that one of the questions that you practice will appear in the exam, right? But practice them with the intention of familiarizing yourself with how questions are asked in the exam. And when I say under strict exam conditions, I mean sit down, set a timer, and write the past paper under exam conditions. This will help reduce exam anxiety. Number 2, it will also help you with time management under pressure. Tip number 4, don't rely on the CPF method. For those who are familiar with the CPF method, that is the cram, pass, forget method, right? Which does work sometimes for other people, but cramming is very risky because if you forget one small detail, it can throw you off completely, and then it's downhill from there. Aim to understand what you are measuring and why you are measuring it in the way that you're measuring it. Now, on the day of the exam, and I cannot emphasize this enough, read your instructions carefully. Before you put pen to paper, read your instructions carefully. A common mistake that students make is skipping the instructions and rushing through the paper only to realize later that they spent or wasted precious time doing work that they were not supposed to do in the first place, work that's not even going to get marked, right? I'll make a typical example using this paper here. You see in the instructions, you're told that the site has been leveled and that the site has been cleared. So it means that as part of the exam, you do not need to measure site clearance, nor do you need to measure the leveling of the site, because that has already been done. So you don't have to waste time measuring quantities or taking off quantities for site clearance and the leveling of the site, even though you have been given information in the drawings, right? Because sometimes those are the curveballs that you need to look out for, right? It's very important, therefore, to be very thorough when reading your instructions, because it's in your instructions where you will be told the type of material you are excavating, for example, and. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Read the instructions before putting pen to paper. And remember to always start with the question that you know best, right? Get that out of the way. You don't have to spend a lot of time on that question because you are confident and comfortable with it, right? Spend less time on those questions and then proceed to the more difficult ones that will require most of your time. In closing, if you've practiced past papers, revised your class notes and your tests, studied your construction technology, you will walk into that exam confident. All the best with your exams.